Alright, Corey, thanks just for some of your time. We got some questions for you. I mean, it is Valentine's Day and all. We just wanted to know, like, if you had any thoughts or opinions about love, dating, relationships, that kind of thing.
Sure thing, let's go.
Right, yeah. But we just...
Hey, let's go.
Alright, glad to see you're as excited as we are.
Sure thing, let's go.
Let's talk about you for a moment. I mean, in college you were pursuing Jamie. Was it like a hot pursuit?
A hot pursuit. Sounds like something, yeah. You're on the Dukes of Hazzard or something.
Oh yeah, the General Lee. Yeah, Dukes of Hazzard. I love that. That's awesome.
Everybody says something a little bit differently.
Alright, cool. So when you finally asked her out, like, where did you go? What kind of place did you guys go to?
A bad place, a sad place.
So did you just not plan? Doesn't sound like you put a lot of effort into it.
I kind of did that intentionally, not because I'm lazy. It was a lot of work.
Sounds like you guys may have been going through some tough times. Like, what was going through your head?
I don't know if the Lord's going to get us through this one.
But he did. But really, a girl like Jamie, a guy like you, how does something like that happen?
And people who study that say that's kind of perplexing. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to us either.
And whatever.
We also wanted to ask about public displays of affection. Obviously, when you were younger, you did a lot of holding hands, cuddling, snuggling, stuff like that.
And sometimes God calls younger people to do something reckless.
Oh, but not so much now that you're older.
Sometimes older people, they get a little logical and not as reckless.
So you pretty much cut that out, huh? You don't do that anymore?
I may change my mind at some point or whatever. You know, I got some grumbling and some complaining.
So you guys ended up getting together and getting married, and that's great. But we know some guys that are, you know, in relationships and married and possibly even pursuing relationships of their own.
Father, we pray for these individuals.
Oh, we're praying now. I know a guy who's trying to get up his courage to pursue a girl, and he's trying to make sure everything's in line, that he's got a place to live, that his car is nice, his clothes are nice.
The truth is, nobody cares about your house, and nobody cares about your car, and nobody cares about your clothes, right?
Okay, so don't be materialistic. That's good advice.
So how about like a homemade Valentine card? Like, it looks pretty cool, I'll get it.
Not around coloring on a piece of paper and doing crafts and whatever.
Okay, maybe not. How about a poem? A friend of mine has a poem with Bible verses, thought he'd recite that.
He's probably being a little bit superstitious here, right? Okay, we want things to go well, and so he wants to sound holy, he wants to sound righteous, and so he opens his mouth and says something, but what he says is stupid.
So better not to say anything at all.
Sounds good.
Oh, okay, so a date then. Everyone likes going out to dinner at a nice place, like maybe Outback or Olive Garden.
Nobody eats. We're going to be spiritual. Nobody eats.
Alright then, what would you recommend? Maybe what did your friends do when you were growing up when you were in Idaho?
They pounced on the plunder, taking sheep, cattle, and calves. They butchered them on the ground and ate them together with the blood.
Okay, so moving on. I got a friend who's dealing with some insecurity. Any advice for him?
Lack of security, lack of confidence, lack of assurance.
Oh, hold on. Wait, I didn't catch any of that first part. Could you please repeat yourself there?
Lack of security, lack of confidence, lack of assurance.
I can't understand what you're saying, Corey. I'm sorry.
That the Hebrew is very confusing here, and so people guess.
Right. Let's talk about your family. You have a daughter. What will happen that day that some boy comes knocking at the door at your house?
My family is going to be armed.
Wow, like all of them with weapons, like swords and stuff? What is that going to be like?
They'd be sharpening their swords and learning to use their swords and have, sword fights.
Does that really work?
More times than not, we maybe just make a mess of things.
Speaking of the family, as a pastor, what do you think the male's role in the family is?
He's the king.
That's quite the loaded statement. You care to expound on that?
Too many people, don't understand that. Want to look at it from a different angle.
You might want to explain yourself at least a little bit. Maybe you should just take a moment to be still and collect your thoughts for a second.
See, sometimes being still makes us really, really uncomfortable. Right?
Okay, but one more thing.
We are dismissed.
I wasn't quite finished.
By golly,
Oh, okay, but actually I had...
we are dismissed.